Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So the month of June was actually pretty historic. It opened with us learning about the schedule for the January 6th committee public hearings, and it ended with those hearings revealing that Donald Trump knowingly and intentionally launched an armed attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. What will July hold in store? Here's a short recap of the legal stories for the month that was June 2022. So there are lots of developments on the legal front. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court going after its own clerks. We're going to talk about a long-time, well-respected federal judge announcing it's time for the Supreme Court to operate under a code of ethics. We're going to talk about John Durham's spectacular failure in the Bill Barr orchestrated investigative witch hunt. And we're going to finish up with some thoughts about Merrick Garland by someone who knows him well. That's a lot to get through in just one short video, but we're going to get through it. Because justice matters. Did you ever hear the old saying that sometimes justice seems to take forever, and then it comes all at once? Let's talk about the all at once part. Because justice matters. So Trump advisor Peter Navarro indicted. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So the Justice Department is batting 2 for 4 when it comes to indicting people who commit the crime of contempt of Congress. Why do we think that is? Let's talk about it. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So how did the month of May do on the justice front? Well, it started with the announcement of the opening of a special grand jury in Fulton County, Georgia, to investigate the election crimes of Donald Trump. And it ended, perhaps fittingly, with Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis issuing 50 grand jury subpoenas to investigate Trump's crimes. Here's a short recap of the legal stories for the month that was May 2022. So can we talk about a tale of two Republicans? One fighting to save our democracy, and the other fighting for his right to lie. No, you can't make this up, friends. Let's talk about it. Because justice matters. So a federal grand jury just indicted the head of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, on seditious conspiracy charges. You know, DOJ may have indicted the head of the Proud Boys, but they still haven't indicted their leader, Donald Trump. But it's coming, friends. Because justice matters. So, 2 news stories about the so-called Proud Boys have run in recent days. Each story is interesting in its own right, but I think when you put them together, it may tell us something about possible coordination between the Department of Justice and the J6 committee, the congressional committee investigating the insurrection. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So as we eagerly await the kickoff of the public hearings presented by the Congressional Committee, the January 6th Select Committee, pulling back the curtain on Donald Trump's insurrection, what should we expect next from the Department of Justice? Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. So the January 6th Select Committee public hearings are about to kick off. Let's do a preview of 1, what we the people should expect to see, and perhaps even more importantly, two, what happens after we've seen it? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So the January 6th public hearings kicked off last night, and last night's hearing was disturbing, riveting, enlightening, and as I watched it, it just sort of knocked the constitutional wind right out of me. Let's talk about some of the highlights of what we saw, because justice matters. So let's talk about pardons, because given what Jared Kushner said he was doing in the final days of his father-in-law's administration, I suspect we're going to be hearing a lot more about pardons in the near future. And this might surprise you, but I have a feeling that much of what we learn is actually going to be good news on the justice front. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Mike Pence, former vice president and longtime Donald Trump enabler. On January 6th, Mike Pence showed momentary and fleeting allegiance to the rule of law and to the Constitution. But Mike Pence is no hero. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So friends, did you see day 2 of the January 6th public hearings? Boy, things went from bad to worse for Donald Trump. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So given the evidence that's being revealed during the January 6th public hearings regarding the insurrection, it's becoming crystal clear that the linear progression of Donald Trump's criminal scheme is as obvious as it is incriminating. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Friends, we have evidence that there are members of Congress trying to destroy our democracy from within. And the question of our time is, what are we going to do about it? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So Donald Trump's pressure campaign, trying to force, coerce, threaten Mike Pence into corruptly overturning the results of the election, is yet additional evidence of Trump's treason. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So let's take on 3 stories. First, the crimes of Donald Trump's lawyer, John Eastman, exposed. Second, Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, will she or won't she testify? And third, the Department of Justice demands all January 6th committee witness transcripts. Let's unpack it all, because justice matters. So Donald Trump gave a speech last night in Nashville, and he continues to endanger America. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So let's take up 2 unanswered questions regarding January 6th. 1, who is on what John Eastman called the pardon list? And 2, why did Senator Grassley say, "I'll be in charge, not Mike Pence," on January 6th on certification day? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So the January 6th public hearings are picking back up, and we are about to hear even more evidence of Donald Trump's crimes, including a crime caught on tape. When I was a prosecutor and I had evidence like that, usually as a result of a wiretap, I would call that a just press play trial. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. More of Donald Trump's election crimes exposed in the most recent January 6th public hearings. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So we've been hearing a lot about pardons during the January 6th public hearings. For example, we heard from Jared Kushner himself that he had his nose buried in a pile of pardons at the end of his father-in-law's term, trying to get out as many pardons as they could. So let's talk about presidential pardons, because justice matters. Let's talk about the smoking gun evidence that proves Donald Trump's criminal intent, because justice matters. So January 6 public hearing number 5 was blockbuster. Donald Trump's criminal intent proved, Donald Trump's co-conspirators in Congress identified, and Donald Trump's co-conspirator at the Department of Justice, Jeffrey Clark, just had his home searched by federal authorities. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. A handful of ideologues on the Supreme Court just determined that they can dictate to women that women must carry to term a pregnancy without their consent and against their will. But make no mistake about it, they're coming for all of us. They will be revoking other privacy rights in the near future if we give them that opportunity. So here's just one thing I've decided to do. I'm going to be printing out voter registration applications for Virginia and also for DC and Maryland. That's the area in which I live. And I'm going to carry them with me every day. And I'm going to offer them to everyone I encounter. So now we've got a surprise congressional J6 hearing set, and we've got a former Attorney General for the United States talking about Donald Trump's criminal intent. Let's talk about both of those things, because justice matters. So as I watched today's January 6th public hearings, 3 words kept coming to mind. Trump is toast. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. So friends, do you think it's time to hold Donald Trump accountable for at least some of his crimes? Me too. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Well, friends, it looks like somebody on Team Trump took a page out of the book Witness Tampering for Dummies. Let's talk about that, because justice matters.